The playoffs are here, and we're starting with the Lady in Black. Can this year's Southern 500 launch another title run like it has for the past 5 champions? Or will the track too tough to tame chew someone up? Well, hi folks, welcome back to Racin-n-Braisin. I am CJ, a lifelong NASCAR fan and chef, and we have got a lot to cover today as we get ready for round one, race one of the 2025 Cup Series playoffs. We're going to start things off with Darlington, and on the menu today, we're going to get you ready with the weekend schedule, what to know, who to watch, and what the playoffs are going to start off looking like. Plus, I'll give you my predictions for round one eliminations. We'll finish things off with a quick news of the week and finally talk about what is going to be on my menu here at home while I watch the Southern 500. So let's dive right on into it. Well, Cup is going to be accompanied by trucks this weekend at Darlington. Xfinity will be racing, but they're going to be way out west in Portland in a standalone event. So they're going to have some different pit rules there. Be on the lookout for that race Saturday night. The Cup Series practice will be Saturday morning, 9 a.m., followed by qualifying. So early morning, we can get up and watch the Cup practice on Saturday. The race, Sunday night, 6 o'clock on USA. Now, there are no Cup drivers that are jumping down for Saturday afternoon's truck race in Darlington, but there are going to be a couple of extra drivers in the field on Sunday. We're going to have 38 total. Josh Bilicki and Derek Kraus are the two extra drivers that are going to be showing up for Sunday's event. The opening playoff race, such as this one here at Darlington, has produced 5 champions. Among active ones are Busch, Keselowski, and Logano. However, Keselowski not in the playoff field this year. Denny Hamlin is the only repeat winner here at Darlington in the last 11 races. And the Southern 500, of course, known for long grinds. The average race length is 4 hours, 15 minutes. That's only second to the Coke 600. So we are definitely expecting a long, grueling race. This race last year, remember, was the end of the regular season for the Cup Series, and Chase Briscoe had himself a walk-off victory, getting a late pass for the win and securing a spot in the playoffs. This year, however, we are the beginning of the playoffs. Now, the Darlington race this past spring only had 4 lead changes. The race last fall, which, like I said, the end of the regular season, had 26 lead changes. So when stuff's on the line for Darlington, we're probably going to get a lot more action. That's definitely what you need to know. However, who you need to be watching are going to be, of course, the Vegas favorites. Let's take a look here. Larson, Hamlin, Byron, Blaney, of course, all going to be favorites here at this track. Some of the really good runners, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain for sure. But I would say some dark horses to remember, Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones. Bubba Wallace has been getting better at Darlington for sure. He was leading this race back in the spring, remember, before falling off there at the very end. And Eric Jones, a former Southern 500 race winner, and with a legacy motor club that is absolutely improving as the season has gone on. Now, of the 36 full-time drivers, as of the end of the regular season, the top performers, the only ones to be in the top 10 for all of the 5 Racing Insight statistics that include passing, defense, speed, restarts, and pit crew, were Bubba Wallace and William Byron. So good possibility that Bubba Wallace, with those kind of stats and a little bit of consistency, could make a much deeper playoff run than he was able to 2 years ago, the last time that he made the playoffs. So speaking of playoffs, let's go ahead and run it down for everybody. We'll take a look at the field here. Now, the playoffs were set by, of course, who made it in by wins and points, and we have 16 drivers that made the field. As you can see from the graphic here, they've already set them by where they stand based on where the playoff bubble would be. Let's go ahead and explain the playoffs here real quick for you. There's 10 races, there's 4 rounds. The first 3 rounds are going to have 3 races within them. At the end of each round, the drivers in the lowest 4 spots here get eliminated. And then it continues on until we get down to the final round, which is 1 race among 4 drivers, the best finishing driver in the race. Remember, all the other drivers are going to be on the track as well. The best finishing driver in the championship race will be this year's champion. So, of course, I went ahead and filled out my bracket this week, and so did Mom. And as you guys can see, Mom won the regular season competition between the two of us, besting me by more than a race in points. So now we're moving on to the playoff bracket, and the way that we do our competition against each other is we fill out the bracket fully, and whoever has the best remaining bracket basically is the champion. And this right here is the prize for whoever wins the playoff bracket this year. I have this because I won last year. Let's not forget that one. So let's take a look at what my first round bracket looks like. I have SVG continuing on, which I think he has enough playoff points and a little more mojo now, second time around. He says he loves Darlington and acknowledges that Bristol is going to be tough for him in the first round. And we don't really know how he's going to do it at St. Louis Gateway because he's never been there. But I think the playoff points that he's accrued so far this year are going to be enough to get him through to the first round. I also have Austin Cindric continuing on after the first round. His performance at Gateway, I think, is going to be key for his success to move on. Now, I did leave a wild card in there, if you will. I have left Austin Dillon in after the first round. I don't know. I just think RCR is just pumping right now and are probably going to have enough momentum and mojo to get them through the first round. It's not very likely, but I always like to mix it up just a touch as the round, at least in the first round, because there's the most probability for something crazy going on with the first round. So that leaves 4 guys out in my bracket. Bowman, Berry, Reddick, and Chastain are out. Now, real quick, Bowman, the consistency has been all over the place this year, and I just don't see them being able to put it together. They are good at Darlington, there's no doubt about that, but I just don't feel good about the 48 team going into the playoffs this year. They're already 5 points down in the playoff in the playoff cut line, and it's going to be hard to overcome that. There's going to have to be a lot of dramatic things that happen for the 48 team to continue on after the first round. It could happen, but I just don't feel good about that. Now, I also have Josh Berry going out after the first round, and that's just mainly because he's a rookie for the playoff class. This is his first time around in it, and I don't know. Penske is good. Penske and the Wood brothers are good in the playoffs. I'm just not sure that his experience, or lack thereof with the playoffs, is going to help him through the first round. It's going to be a good learning year for him, and hopefully he makes it next year and can progress even further. Now, Tyler Reddick, this one I didn't think was really that hard of a decision to make, but it's definitely a big decision to make. There's a lot swirling around that 23-11 group. The 45 and the 23 have been mired in controversy, of course, and let's not forget the 35, but they're kind of, nobody thinks about the 35. It's been made known that Tyler Reddick has told 2311 that they are in breach of contract. I don't know what happens after that, but that's made news here recently. And of course, all of the court stuff that's going on with 2311 and Front Row Motorsports definitely, I think, are affecting performance, particularly with the 45. So I do not see Tyler Reddick advancing on. And then finally, that leaves Ross Chastain. The only way that Ross Chastain advances, in my eyes, is that he wins Darlington. He's capable of it. He's really good at Darlington, but I just don't see it. And as far as the Gateway and Bristol, after that, he's not all that good at Bristol for sure. And I don't think he's all that notable at Gateway from what I can remember in this tiny little brain. No doubt, all strong drivers and have had highlights throughout the year, but somebody's got to go in the first round, and this is who I have out: Bowman, Berry, Reddick, and Chastain. Now, before we move on to what we're snacking on this weekend, let's touch on the news of the week so far. It's been filled primarily with court drama, the NASCAR court stuff that's going on with 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. In fact, today was the injunction hearing in Charlotte, and from what I've seen on X from those who attended the hearing, it was explosive. There was a lot of sparring between all of the sides, and the judge is definitely not happy with the commentary and the words that were used within the court by the sides competing against each other. He's still, of course, pushing for them to resolve things outside of court. He has not made a ruling today, said he will make a ruling next week regarding this current injunction, which is all about trying to keep the charter status for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. To make things even more complex, this week it was put out there in the newswire that NASCAR has a unnamed team ready to purchase a charter. It initially sounded like it was one of the charters that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports currently hold, or pseudo hold, unassigned, whatever that whole thing is. But it was clarified throughout the week that it is not. NASCAR does have the ability to create and sell 4 more charters, because there's still 4 more spots that are open in the 40 car field. So this might be a 37th charter that is being put out there. Not entirely sure on that one, but that's kind of been the scuttlebutt regarding this all week long. And the other bit of news regarding all of the charter controversy and stuff like that this week was that Tyler Reddick informed 2311 that they are in breach of contract, and that's an issue. So it sounds like Reddick is kind of putting the foot out there in the feeler to see who else could bite on possibly picking him up if things fall apart here for the 2 teams going against NASCAR. And then the other thing that's been mentioned through reporting is that some of the sponsors are starting to pull back from both of those teams. So the nails are starting to be put into the coffins for these teams, and they have made it very clear that if they do not get their charters back and do not win these cases, that they're done. They're not going to continue on in NASCAR. So, yeah, pretty big deal for sure. Also making news this week, and I think this is a cool one and a big one, the spring race weekend in Phoenix for the Cup and Xfinity Series in March of 2026 will be joined by IndyCar. They're going to do a doubleheader weekend for all of those series together. I think that's awesome. I have been clamoring for a crossover thing between IndyCar and NASCAR for years, and we've seen some iterations of it where the Xfinity Series has teamed up with IndyCar, but now we're finally getting the Cup Series teaming up with IndyCar for a showcase weekend out in Phoenix. Well, I think that's about everything you need to know for Darlington's race weekend. Now let's talk about what could be on your snack table while you're watching the race. I'm going to go with some boiled peanuts this weekend and try my hand at it. Now, I did live in South Carolina for several years as a kid, and I distinctly remember every time we went to the grocery store, there was a boiled peanut stand out front, either serving the regular salted boiled peanuts or the hot boiled peanuts. I don't remember ever trying them, to be quite honest with you guys, so I don't remember if I like them or not. As I understand it, it's definitely a you like it or you don't type of situation. I love regular roasted peanuts and picking them at baseball games, so we're going to try out some boiled peanuts. Now, of course, I am going to put some of my own personal flair on them, I'm going to go with Old Bay and beer as my seasoning for the boiled peanuts this time around. Now, there are several other options for all of you guys to experiment with if you're doing boiled peanuts yourself at home. There's smoky barbecue seasonings that you can use. There's soy and Asian style seasonings that would go really well with them. Of course, can't forget just the straight Cajun seasoning, which is what the hot peanuts are basically based off of. Definitely throw in some hot sauce into that boiling liquid. Or to kind of give things a nice tangy kick, you could use some vinegar in your boiling liquid and do kind of like a salt and vinegar style boiled peanut. So several options are available for you guys to do them at home. Like I said, I'm going to go with the Old Bay and kick it up a notch there, Old Baltimore style, in my true fashion. Definitely going to be a perfect snack for a long night in Darlington. 500 miles for the Southern 500. So as we wrap things up here today, I want to know who is on your elimination list for round one and who you think is going to run away with the first win of the first race of the playoffs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like what I'm doing around here, please hit the like button. That definitely helps me out a lot. And more importantly, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you guys don't miss another episode of Racin-n-Braisin. I guarantee you 2 a week, sometimes 3. You're definitely going to get a Thursday preview out of me and a Sunday recap. So until Sunday, guys, enjoy the race. Stay happy.